Sifter for the ear.
News, interviews, reviews, cinema, TV, streaming. Action.
Hi, y'all. This is Jerry Williams, a.k.a. TV Jerry. This interview is crammed with good stories, so let's get started. Mark Lambert got his break in special effects when he developed proprietary rendering software for Pixar. He went on to work on visual effects for numerous movies like Harry Potter, The Polar Express, Men in Black 2, and more. He's now pivoted to work in virtual reality, which has taken him around the world to shoot some incredible footage.
Sifter Review of the Week.
Unfrosted on Netflix. This film is a highly fictionalized version of the competition between Kellogg's and Post over the rollout of a toaster pastry, later to be named Pop-Tart. Jerry Seinfeld co-wrote, directed, and stars as a Kellogg's executive in 1963. He fills the punchlines and character moments with his wry comic sensibilities and adds a great cast of delightful actors, including Jim Gaffigan, Melissa McCarthy, Hugh Grant, and Amy Schumer. There's even a cool deep fake of Johnny Carson. Some moments push reality to silliness, but it doesn't stray much from a traditional approach to the form with a lively pace and non-stop gags, many of which land. The movie isn't great cinema, but it's consistently funny entertainment. I gave Unfrosted 4.5 out of 5 stars. Mark Lambert, welcome to Sifter for the Year. So, and I usually ask people first thing, how did you get in the field? And a lot of people are like, well, I was the kid, I used to do plays, or I used to draw a lot or whatever. But of course, they didn't have visual effects back when you were a kid, except maybe matte paintings. So how did you find your way into visual effects?
I was a math whiz in high school and also into the drama club and creative and writing stories, and went to see Star Wars and said, this is really, it sort of merges these two areas that I'm interested in,
Right.
Which is the creative field and my ability with math and computer programming. When I went to college, there was no degree that you could get in it. And so I sort of had to chart my own path.
Do you remember your first computer?
We were using like the computer at the Mass Science Center. Were
you raised in Richmond?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And then at Virginia Tech, we were still using punch cards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so for anyone that doesn't know, punch cards, you basically would go to a big terminal and you would punch one line of code in at a time, and it would come out on a card with little holes punched in it.
Right.
And you would take a deck over to a window, and you would wrap it up in a rubber band, and you would hand it into the window, and they would run your program, and then you would get a printout later. When I got out, I'd written a code for a video editor. I got out as an engineer up in a post-production house in DC. I pretty much started their computer animation capability there,
right.
By writing my own, because you couldn't buy anything. So I wrote my own computer animation program. I think at the time we were trying to do, just flying type for this woman that was, I think, what was it, Philadelphia or something, name of Oprah.
Yeah, I think I've heard of her.
Yeah. And we were trying to do an open for the show, and it was just brutal because we couldn't even get the video out of the computer. So we would have to film the screen.
Oh, wow.
One frame at a time to fly type around and stuff. And my wife and I both wanted to move away from DC. Our first kid came along, and we said, well, let's go back to Richmond, which was hometown for me.
There you go.
But ended up down in Shockoe Slip.
Yeah.
I think we built up to about 13 people.
Wow, I didn't realize it was ever that big. Huh. I guess you were too fancy. I couldn't afford you back in those days. So.
No, I think we did some projects together. I can't remember what they were.
I can't either, but I do remember
but I'm
something.
highly appreciative of
making that effort.
Support. A guy that I had mentored went to ILM.
Footnote.
ILM is Industrial Light and Magic, one of the original and still a major visual effects company that was started by George Lucas.
And he was working on T2, the second Terminator movie, and he said, you really got to try this software called RenderMan, and ILM was the only people using it. I looked at it, and you had to write custom interfaces to it, but I know how to write code. So I wrote software that would interface this package called RenderMan from this little company called Pixar.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yes, Pixar at the time was maybe 30 people.
Wow.
So I started licensing that to all of the major players in LA.
When did you actually get to work on some films yourself using the software?
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie.
Right.
So I could do these metaballs, these blobby creatures, and they needed some gag to go with blobby creatures. And I was one of the first people that could morph. If you remember the Michael Jackson video of the time, There was about 5 locations that could do it, and here in Richmond, we were one of them.
Right.
We did a Beverly D'Angelo pterodactyl woman from Beverly Hills.
Oh, great.
Oh.
I wish that were still around. I bet it's hilarious.
It was something where I did a test of turning her head into a pterodactyl, and I sent it out, and they're like, "This is great. Love it." And I'm like, "Well, that was a test." And, but I think we were, again, ahead of the wave.
So you weren't actually ever on set or even in the post-production. They were just using your software, and you might just give them some advice or some tech support.
Yeah, if they ran into a problem, I'd get a call and they're like trying to do this on Ghost. So in Ghost, it's like at the end, there's a whole thing with shadows crawling along pavement. And I wrote up something custom for that. Species, they'd send me the model and I'd, figure out, okay, here's how to make it work within the whole system.
Uh-huh.
So Richard Edlund, who's one of the original ILM
Right.
Star Wars guys, he had a company called Boss Films, and so they had picked up Air Force One.
Footnote.
Air Force One was a 1997 movie starring Harrison Ford as the president, who's hijacked on his plane.
A lot of the jets flying at night and that are chasing the Air Force One were all digital. Let's see, the Earth to the Moon.
Footnote.
From the Earth to the Moon was a 1998 HBO series about the Apollo program. It was produced by Tom Hanks, Ron Howard, and others.
Tom Hanks has been coming in and out of my life over the years for many times.
Personally, or do you ever get to interact with him? He's always just on screen and you're just digitizing him somehow.
I was a video editor at the time in DC, and they were filming across the street from me in Georgetown. It was this movie, Man with One Red Shoe, or something like that.
Oh, right.
And just was standing there watching them film a shot. And I see the guy, and it's a stunt shot. So I went up and started talking to him. And I said, "Well, what's the shot?" And he explains the shot. And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, do you like being a stunt actor?" And he goes, "I'm Tom Hanks. I'm the star."
Were you a little embarrassed, I guess? Or maybe he wasn't that big yet?
I didn't know who, and he said, bosom buddies, and I'm like, I don't have a TV.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, he was very nice. I mean, he went on he wanted to hear about what I did, and so I mean, that's the type of person, as many people will tell you, but that's the type of person he is.
Surprise guest drop in.
I want to talk about some of the other movies and some of the other people you've worked with, and I got lots of other questions, but I'm going to fast forward to current day because somebody wanted to drop in and say hello.
Hey.
Hey there, Craig Martin. How are you? Welcome back to Sifter for the Year. It's your second or third time, isn't it?
I think so. It's something like that.
Footnote.
Craig Martin is the co-host of The Good Road, a PBS series about people doing good things around the world.
I know that guy right there.
Yeah, that guy, Mr. Lambert. How do you know each other?
He and his daughter, Jenna, traveled with us to Thailand and Myanmar, shooting as part of our VR team.
This is The Good Road?
On The Good Road, sorry.
So what was your involvement, Mark? What did y'all do?
We were trying to see how it would work with filming a show like The Good Road and how it would work with tagging along with a crew like that and filming it in VR. Somebody was just talking to me about food poisoning, and I'm remembering how 2/3 of our crew, I think it was, came sick, and that was in Myanmar, I guess.
And literally the morning of 5 a.m., I started getting texts. So-and-so's down for the count with some sickness, some throwing up and all that stuff kind of thing. And fortunately, Earl and I, as the host of the show, were not sick at all. Yeah, we went out and did the best we could, and it actually turned out fine. But there's a couple, crazy stories of that.
Mark is laughing, so you have to recount one of them because he's laughing like, "Oh yeah, that was a great story."
Was it at the end of that you fell and broke your arm, or what?
Yeah. Well, so you have to remove your shoes, and you're at this temple that it's all polished marble. I mean, just the nicest, slick, polished marble. And I'm carrying all the gear, and I'm literally sliding with 100 pounds of gear on my back. And yeah, I hit my arm pretty bad. I was in a sling the rest of the show.
Oh, great.
The good story out of all of that, and I don't know if I could tell this one, but I'm going to.
Go for it. Please, I love those stories.
The good news is that for the time we were out on that all-day trip, that's when Jeremy Mazza, our audio recordist for The Good Road, really spent a lot of time with Jenna Lambert, Mark's daughter. Mm-hmm. And all these many years later, last fall, they actually got married.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if everybody will credit us for this, but we like to think that Earl and I, as the good road, or the matchmakers that got them together. So
100%. She would not have been in Myanmar hanging out with Jeremy and getting him soup if it had not been for you guys.
Well, now, so let me ask, let's go back to the good road for a minute. The VR footage you shot, can people see it? Is it somewhere to be experienced?
We cut a promo and then we were pitching it to people like Facebook and things. And then this little thing happened where people started getting sick.
I kind of heard about it. I remember hearing about it, right.
That's how something like the Poe Museum came along, and that's something that we're working on now. Craig is a board member and just brought that up, and I was like, oh, wow, let's do something with the Poe Museum. So we're building a metaverse.
Well, Craig, I want to thank you for dropping in. It's always good to see you back on the show.
Jerry, I love the show. You know I do.
Thank you very much.
Especially when it's good friends like Mark. I love doing this. So thank you so much. And thank you for contributing to our community and beyond with your show.
Well, thank you. I'm still enjoying it. So for a little while longer anyway. Thank you very much, Craig. Good to see you.
All right, y'all enjoy the rest of the time.
Okay, Mark, let's go back to Hollywood now. Why don't we start with Harry Potter?
I ended up heading up visual development or look development. We were doing the very first one, so none of the designs had been done yet. And we didn't actually have a lot of art to go on. The art directors were doing just really the things that they were going to be filming, the practicals. For the Quidditch field, I had an oval that told me where these towers were, and that was it. But I didn't know, like, where's the castle? Where is this actually at? What is this world going to look like?
Right.
I said, well, should we ask the director or the author? And they're like, no, they're filming and busy. I said, all right. So I got to be the person that said, well, the castle's going to be over there. We're going to have a big, long mountain over here. And, we started building out what that world would be, figuring out all the different nuances. It sounds simple, but that's a huge environment. And then later, I thought it was all going to be plywood because of a photo they had sent me. And they had changed to cloth fabric. So we had to completely redo the whole thing from plywood to cloth, which blows in the wind.
Sure, yeah.
All the little details in that. What does a three-headed dog look like? And it's like, what type of dog is it? Nobody knew. And I said, bring me pictures of dogs. How did the necks come together? On that movie, I think that was maybe 30 people. And they were the modelers, the painters, the people, in digital paint, the people that set it up and light it. And so that was what my world was. And then the next movie that I picked up was Polar Express. And that was a huge 3-year journey.
Footnote.
Polar Express starred Hanks and was directed by Bob Zemeckis, who also did Back to the Future and Forrest Gump. Again with Tom Hanks.
Again with Tom Hanks.
Right.
And Bob Zemeckis. And I'd done a little something interfacing, not directly with Bob, but Castaway. Again with
Tom Hanks, right.
But yeah, I was helping out just at the very beginning for a while with some water development and stuff. But yeah, Polar, came along, and having never done anything of that scale, and nobody sort of done what we were trying to do, another groundbreaking film, that near photorealism.
After working on Polar Express, what was the next big job or big challenge that you had?
Again, the first of the Narnia films, Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. We did the talking wolves, the talking beavers, the White Witch Castle I got to design, which was kind of fun and challenging too, because ice was hard back then. Here I'm doing talking animals and all this furniture, and it was ice that was like the hardest on that. And that was the last large feature that I did out there. And also the whole time I've been this was a commute for me.
Oh, wow.
I kept an apartment out in Marina del Rey right on the waterfront. And so I'd fly home every other weekend.
Let's move away from the movies and the TV stuff, and let's talk about VR. How did you think, hey, I think I want to get involved in virtual reality?
I had done some software, early VR in 92.
Oh, wow.
But back in the late 90s, I had done some spherical shooting for other reasons.
And explain what that is.
Video is shot as a flat plane.
Right.
It's 2D. 360 video, which is one form of virtual reality. Everything is spherical around you. You're shooting the ball of.
So you got cameras all over it, right?
You got cameras all over the over the device. That's the fun and the challenge of 360 video. So it's a challenging form of narrative. And that's what I loved about it, is that our conventional techniques that we use in cinema, 2D cinema, just don't work.
There's no editing. There's no cutting to a close-up.
There's no cutting to a close-up. There's no zoom. There's no two-shot, over the shoulder dialogue type of thing.
Right.
So you're limited in a huge way. What the fun part is, okay, well, then what do we do with this? Because it is so different and it is so immersive. Someone from Dubai called me up and they said,
that was what I was going to ask you about. Yeah, that looked crazy.
Yeah, at the time, there was very few people that had shot underwater. And I had done an underwater thing down at North Carolina Aquarium. And so he explained what he was trying to do for the Dubai Aquarium. So I got to direct a large series, sort of documentary, soft conservation stories flying around the world. So I got to go to, places to film the mountain gorillas climbing the mountain or swimming with the whale sharks off of Mafia Island in Tanzania. And we put this into the Dubai Aquarium virtual reality series. And we found that it was really popular, and they were getting 500 people a day. So, wow. I mean, when I was, like the mountain gorillas, for instance, only 8 people a day can see these mountain gorillas. I mean, they're very limited, but we were having 400 people a day see them at the Dubai Aquarium and hear the conservation story behind that.
Now, it's interesting because, I saw a couple of years ago the immersive Van Gogh was everywhere, and you paid extra $10 for the VR on that. And I don't know if you've seen that one, but it was kind of cool because you're sitting on a stool and it's very low. Well, not very low. It's very early VR. So you can definitely tell it's not realistic, but it's real-ish. And it's funny because one time I'm sitting there and Mark, my husband, was right behind me, and I turned around to say, "Hey, isn't this cool?" And I realized, oh, wait, but he's not really there in the VR world. He's behind me, reality. So the Burj Khalifa skyscraper, that must have been a terrifying experience up there.
Footnote.
The Burj Khalifa is the tallest building in the world and is located in Dubai.
It was, if you're afraid of heights, it would be. Yeah, that was an interesting thing. My partner out there, we were doing things with the same company, and he and I had been talking through creative ideas for something that would go at their observation deck, which is about 140 flights up. They basically said they liked the idea. And we were in a meeting and they said, well, do you need to film from the top? But it's very rare to get that opportunity. They've had people evidently offer them millions of dollars to go up there, but that's just not their thing. And so to do that, you wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning and you go up to, 140, and then you go up 10 stories in a rickety elevator, and then you climb 20 stories of hand-over-hand ladders.
You at least have a connection, so you couldn't fall. I mean, you're rigged in, right? So even if you lose a step, you're not going to fall.
Yeah, we were supposed to use that, and we had it on.
Supposed to use that.
it becomes kind of a pain to be locking, but we did. Of course we did.
Right,
the whole way up. But you would go up a ladder and you go up a ladder and then you'd hatch out and then you walk around the building, and the building keeps getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So that by the time you're at the top, I spent an hour where it was about 14 feet across. And I literally saw a plane taking off from the airport pretty good distance away, and it flew underneath me.
Wow.
Yeah. But people ask, is it a lot of wind? And it's Dubai, and there are windy days, but there was no wind and it was really hot. My cameras were overheating. You don't really have that much vertigo to me because things are so far away.
Yeah.
It's actually scarier at about the 90th floor because you can see buildings underneath you, and as you move your head, they parallax a little bit.
Right.
But by this point, everything had pretty much flattened out.
So that brings up a question for me, because you talk about your head, and here you are on the top of that building. If it's virtual reality and it's shooting essentially 360, where are you? How do you keep yourself out of the shots?
You never can. And so typically we're over hiding behind a tree, or something like that. But a lot of times we're in the shot and we're just shooting a clean plate.
Meaning what?
If I was shooting here and then I would film this, all the background talent, all the background crew would be in one location. And then during the second half of the shot, or after the shot's over, we'd just move away so that we'd have an extra.
Blend them together, obviously.
Yeah, and then you just cut that out and paste it over.
Got it. Okay.
That's the general idea, is basically you tend to clean yourself out until you get that shot where they want somebody like walking around it.
Have you used the new Apple headsets?
The Apple ones. No, and I was going to use one 2 weeks ago down in Tampa, and then time got away from us. They're more for what's called augmented reality, where you're still very much in the space.
Right.
And so I appreciate what they're doing. It's a good leap forward for usability, I hope.
So you have some interesting projects at VCU now. What's going on with that?
We just did some interesting work to help teen suicide. I think that's important work, and they're going to do research on how what we created, working with them, could help people that are, whether it's in an ER or a community center, perhaps we can get them some therapy and also reaching out for further help.
So how would that work in VR? Was there like an actor in VR who's the teen that they interact with?
Yeah, and that's what we tried on that one. So there is a teen, and there's basically a script, so to speak, but it's a number of different things. We'll have the person meditate. The doctors have come up with different topics that they say this is what we would want delivered to this person. And at 3 a.m. in the morning, I mean, there may not be anybody that, it gives them very much a consistent delivery of information on that content. And that's what we find in a lot of the things that we're doing is that your retention, your emotional engagement with the material is much higher than if it's presented to you on a flat screen. Because somebody would say, well, why couldn't we just have them watch this on a TV screen?
Right.
They become engaged in that world, and then the content that you're delivering is received better, sometimes up to 4 times higher emotional engagement than flat screen. And even, things like classroom, for training, classroom learning, I mean, it's like 2.5 times better focus.
Oh.
And the interesting thing, too, you were talking about the Van Gogh project.
Right.
Some of these are solitary, and that's to an advantage. But then we were talking about the Poe Museum, and that's going to be the fun thing is that even with things like the Apple ProVision, you can also be talking to somebody that's not in the same space as you. And so we've done quite a few of those things. I think years ago we were doing a thing at the VMFA. We've duplicated the eggs.
Fabergé eggs, right.
The Fabergé eggs. And we could have multiple people around the room, all looking at the Fabergé eggs, and you could pick them up and things. And we never had an opportunity to do more with them, but those type of ideas where you can put some people in a room with something like the Fabergé eggs or Edgar Allan Poe, or a topic such as suicide prevention and mental health.
You've got Lighthouse. What is that?
We really wanted to, because of personal stories like everyone has, people they know that have had substance use disorder.
Uh-huh.
And we started working with the Veterans Administration. We're about 4 years in, is a whole world that somebody that comes to the VA can enter if they're wanting to get substance use disorder treatment. And we teach them an evidence-based protocol. It's called CBT, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. And it's pretty much the gold standard for a lot of mental health issues.
Right.
So you wander around this world over 17 sessions, and you learn a lot of different things about how to deal with your emotions. You learn how to deal with anger, stress, anxiety, a lot of different topics.
Again, in VR?
All in VR.
So the person comes in, puts on headsets, and has these experiences.
Yeah. Basically the idea is not to replace a therapist, but the therapist can only spend but so much time with you.
Sure,
and a lot of times that may be in a group setting, and people have social anxiety.
Right.
That's now been well proven when we interview people that are very successful with what we've been doing. They tell us, I did these group sessions and I couldn't take it because I was always thinking about what I would say when it came around to me. And I just took the headset back to my room and put it on. And I suddenly learned about all these things that people had been talking at me. I sort of lived it.
Now explain that. Help me understand that, because that's what I'm saying. You put the headset on, you're not getting a lecture. You're getting an experience.
A little bit of both. We present a topic in 2 to 3 ways. There is a portion that is more of a lesson, but instead of it being sort of classroom, you're sitting beside this lake and someone's talking to you. But then there's all these animated fun things that are happening around the lake that you're watching that reinforce the story that you would never, you could put them into a video, but it wouldn't be the same as feeling like they're happening around you.
Right.
So that's the lesson. But then let's say that we're talking about anxiety. So we have these little meters that you go around and you push the meter up and down about how stressed out you are.
Okay.
But then on anxiety, the anxiety session, you go off on this path and you go up to the mountain, anxiety mountain, and you learn coping strategies by climbing a mountain. And you physically are moving your arms up climbing the mountain. And heights gives people anxiety. And we allow people to bypass the mountain, but this is the most extreme example. But people that are scared of heights really haven't had a problem, because we tell them we have an 8-foot wall, and we say, climb up once, now let go of your hands. And they just float there.
Ah, cool.
I
Okay.
said, now, if you want to keep going, keep climbing, let go of your hands. So we do that twice, and then we have them go on. But along the way, they find out coping strategies. Each coping strategy becomes a pickaxe. The pickaxe breaks the rock blocking their way. And we're allowing them to choose strategies that break down barriers that they have faced. And at the same time, having fun because,
Right.
we also time them. At the top, they find out that they've been timed and they can repeat climbing the mountain multiple times to improve that time, which is a strategy for coping with anxiety. So it's those type of things. We have scavenger hunts. We have other things that we're developing by gamifying it a little bit. Now we're not doing full on Mario Kart,
Right.
or a shooting game,
Right.
we do have basketball hoops and some other things. You can play fetch with a wolf. For some people, the lesson may be what works with them. And for other people, the activity may be what works for them. And it's proven to be pretty effective. We're interviewing people that we are helping. So we're looking at taking this outside of the Veterans Administration now, starting to look for grants and corporate sponsorship, hopefully, to apply this same thing to youth and basically other communities.
Well, Mark, this has been great to catch up after the 90s. It's been a while. And you still sound like you're doing interesting and innovative and bleeding edge stuff. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thanks. It's been a true pleasure, and it was great to see Craig.
Thank you so much.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
That was Mark Lambert, who started as a visual effects designer for major motion pictures and is now working in virtual reality. There are links to some of his websites on the webpage for this show at TV Jerry.
Coming soon. In theaters.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This latest version of the franchise takes place after the reign of Caesar, when a young ape questions what he knows about humans. Not another church movie. This spoof features Kevin Daniels as Tyler Harry, a thinly disguised Tyler Perry. The P is silent, and he's commanded by God, Jamie Foxx, to write a movie about the devil, Mickey Rourke. The feeling that the time for doing something has passed. Joanna Arno wrote and directed this indie comedy as a woman with a casual BDSM relationship, a low-level corporate job, and her quarrelsome Jewish family. Force of Nature, The Dry 2. Eric Bana returns for the sequel as he attempts to solve the disappearance of a woman after a hiking trip with 4 of her friends. Nowhere Special. James Norton plays a window cleaner who learns he has a few months to live, so he tries to find a new family for his 3-year-old son.
TV and streaming.
Kevin Hart, the Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. On Netflix, comics celebrate and roast Kevin Hart as he accepts the prize. Outer Range on Prime. This is the 2nd season about a man who discovers a mystery at the edge of Wyoming's wilderness, starring Josh Brolin and Bill Pullman. Wanted Man on Hulu. Dolph Lundgren directed and stars as a police officer who must escort an eyewitness after a cartel shooting. Nikki Glaser, Someday You'll Die on Max, the comic's new special. Now that school is about to get out, we're going to visit a school next week. Pine Grove is a historic black 2-room school in Cumberland County with an interesting history. And next week, we'll meet the people behind the documentary. This is Jerry Williams. Thanks for listening.
For more Sister, including literally thousands of reviews,
Visit tvjerry.com.
That's a wrap.